Okay, welcome back. And before the break, Janet, you had a question for Toni about healing.
Yes.
So if you want to re-answer that question.
I was asking the question, for example, Roger, how you shared that, even to this day, someone coming up from behind you and touching you causes a startle. And Toni, as you were sharing, someone in the room, same kind of thing. How do we heal whatever it is that started that process in us so that we don't have to react that way anymore?
Right. Well, one of the interesting problems, if you will, is that this is also a inherent reflex mechanism of protection. When something surprises us that could be dangerous, it's very human to respond with, oh, what the heck is that? And when we've had something happen, the nervous system has learned that those kind of surprises can hurt and be dangerous. So it's a reflex inherent within us. It can be worked with, and through the body is the best way. That's why, the Rubenfeld Synergy was so wonderful. And it has to do, the way to work with it is to have someone who knows about working with this kind of issue, first of all. For example, I've had people come to me who've had abuse, and they come in and say, like, I know I'm bothered being touched. Touch me so I get over it. No. You can't get over that. That would be like a re-injury. So the way to work with this is to very slowly have, using touch, start, for instance, with Roger, from the front, touch in that same place. There might be a specific place that is worse for him than others. And so first you would start with a place that wasn't as touchy. So let's say it's around the neck or head area for him. You might, from the front, touch his arm. And then, when that's okay, and check the responses and everything. And when the body's okay with that, slowly move to the area that's more touchy. And all the while letting that part of him know that what happened before is not happening now. Now is safe. Now I'm safe in this room, and this person touching me is okay. And really reinforcing, I, the adult, will never let happen to you, the child, the body, happen what happened. You're safe now. And it's a process. And then the last thing would be knowing that they're coming, but having somebody coming up from behind, not in the visual field, but touching that area. And again, reinforcing what happened before is not now. And then, so in that whole way, the body can be trained to desensitize, if you will.
Interesting. Now, I would imagine that would be much more important if that startle reflex was somebody turning around and punching
Yes.
because of that touch. In Roger's case, is it that important, really, to make that kind of effort with the body? I mean, there's a question
I haven't
there.
punched anybody yet.
No, I know yours is a mild case, but I've known people before where if you come up behind them, they turn around, like Vietnam vets, if they've served in war, they, turn around and they're ready to hit you, and in fact have, actually hit people in response to being startled like that. So I think it's a matter of, level of how much this is affecting your life.
Exactly. That's the key. And what the person's goals are, because like if Roger, as slight as it is, if it bothered him that was happening, it's worth dealing with.
Now I have more work to do. Thanks a lot.
Oh, poor Roger.
Come over and let me work with you.
Yeah, let's go to Santa Fe and hang out with Dr. Toni.
I'm good.
We might have to wait 18 months to get in, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll make an appointment before you come.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So is this what you would consider insight, Toni? I mean, because the question is, about the body has insight, we have insight. Is that what we're talking about here then, even with Roger, that there's an insight as to something happened that triggers a response in the body?
Right, and that's one aspect of the use of the word that I meant with the title, from injury to insight. And sometimes when something horrible has happened, maybe also just remembering that something horrible happened, people will get stuck in that and stay in the injury. Why did this happen to me? How could they have done that to me? All these kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't serve. It really, there's a time in the beginning for the shock, the anger, the grief, and all that, and then moving with it and realizing, for instance, myself, I'm extremely sensitive and empathetic with others, and I'm very intuitive. I can tell what's happening with people, and it's very related to me having to be very sensitive when I was younger. So it's that injury actually has turned into an insight of my gift that I bring to the world. So it's made me who I am, and it's a part of who I am, and I understand its purpose for me now. So that's also another way to use that word, insight.
Yeah, I think
that's great.
It's a great thing to have. In that, when I was reading your book, it brought up for me the very same issues: sexual abuse when I was about 4 years old, and other abuses that were going on, and agreements that when I read your book that I remembered that I had made as a 4-year-old about how my life was going to be, about how this was going to happen. And it made me go back and look at some of the decisions I've made. For example, one of the things that I said as a 4-year-old, I lived in a foster home. She was always telling me that the only reason I was there was because no one else loved me and wanted me. And I remember as a 4-year-old putting my hands on my hips and looking at her and going, that is not true. And furthermore, when my kids grow up, they're going to know every moment that they're loved. And
they did, didn't they?
They do. And I saw in that minute the things that I have done with my children. They know that their mother loves them.
Yes.
Maybe almost to distraction.
Right.
You know, and some of the decisions, how I've protected them and so forth throughout life. And I would bet there's going to be a lot of people that watch this that have that same response in reading your book, memories of something that happened in their childhood that they responded to. So how do you use this insight then? I mean, I can't go back and change how I've done things.
Right.
Before you answer that question, can I add something to what you just said, Janet?
Sure.
I was watching a video that a friend sent me a link to yesterday. And one of the things that the woman was talking about was similar to what you were just saying, Janet, and about agreements, and that there's agreements that we've made with people before we ever showed up here.
True.
To do things for us that we look at from this side and go, oh, isn't that horrible?
Right.
So if you could weave that, respond with that in mind, Toni, that would be an interesting response.
Well, it's really, that also is in the book that I had a session where I realized, and it really helped my healing. It was towards the end of my journey there. Of course, we're all still on the journey, but it was very pivotal. When I had a session, I saw myself as an infant, and I felt what I did not know what it was, but it was pain, what we call pain. And when the person came in my visual field, I recognized that there were lifetimes with this person. Lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, and that we had killed each other many times in the past, and that I wasn't going to be killed this time, and I was going to be hurt, but that the hurt was going to help me have an experience that I needed to burn karma, to get rid of, because I had killed many times myself, but that to move me forward, I needed a specific experience. I think this is what you're referring to, in that we are here in life, I believe, to have specific experiences so that triggers certain responses from us that we can grow from, or not, but hopefully we need the experience to learn the lesson so that we can move forward. And I think in this case, like you're saying, the insight, if you realize that having had that experience with that woman, or I think it was a woman, triggered in you, I'm going to be a good mom. So maybe if you hadn't had that experience with her, it might not have made it so adamant in you, but having had that experience, and from past lives probably, there was something that got turned on by her treating you that way, and you said, I'm going to be a fantastic mom, and you have been. So, the insight is realizing, wow, that it was almost like you had the insight when you were 4 years old. The insight was, I'm going to be a good mom, no matter what you treat me like.
Yeah,
And
it was about love, actually. It was about, they're never going to know, they're never going to think for one moment that they are not loved.
yeah, and that's the good mother. I mean, the good mother in all of, even when you're disciplining, right? They know they're loved, even in discipline. You know, discipline is required too. So it's interesting, the whole interplay when we look at our lives, like Roger was just saying, when we look at our lives from this side in the perspective of only one lifetime, sometimes we can't see. But when we have the perspective of many lifetimes, there's many lifetimes, and it gives a different twist, you know. And it's a very interesting, we're on an interesting journey.
Yes, we are. You know, so kind of by reading this book, what we get this feeling of is that all human beings have this capacity to heal, to self-heal, I guess we could use that term. In fact, I think you use that term, self-heal.
Yes.
And so what role then do we play in the cause of the things that we need to heal from? I mean, should we take that on our shoulders and blame ourselves for experiencing health issues?
You know, that is such a great question. I see that all the time. And it's, yeah, there's that term now, the term of new age guilt, you know, and it really does not serve anyone to, like, okay, you have cancer and it's your fault, you better figure out what you did, you know. That kind of blame doesn't help in the healing. So I think the role that we play is similar to, you know, there's an aspect of, we need these experiences to trigger a response within ourselves, and the way that we deal with what we're experiencing, that's the key to healing and to utilizing what happens to us to heal and grow. Again, instead of saying, gee, why did those people hurt me? How could they hurt a child? I was so cute, you know, so lovable. If I stay in that, but instead, you know, that's not going to serve. And did I play a role? Perhaps because I was cruel to others, or maybe even children in a past life. That was my life to reconcile that. Or, but I think the role that we play in developing, if you will, certain illnesses or diseases is that's the lesson that we need in this time, or that's the trigger or the experience to help us learn and grow in the ways that we're here to learn in this life.
You know, it's interesting. I have a friend who lives in California, and I was visiting him over the holidays, and he was diagnosed with bladder cancer in September. And
yeah, just let yourself have that feeling.
Wow. Anyway, he was telling me that, you know, like all of the things he's doing, and he's doing alternative healing, but the thing that he said to me right before I left, he said, I wouldn't change a thing. You know, and because he realized that people care and people love him, and that he didn't believe that about himself, or that other people were even paying attention. And I find that really fascinating, because, you know, you can get on the flip side of that and just say, you know, oh, like you've been talking about, oh, poor me. Why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
Versus looking at it from a 180-degree perspective, where it's like, this is a huge gift for me.
How is this serving me?
Yes.
Exactly. And he knows that, you know, and with all of the pain that he's going through as a result of what he's doing, that there's a huge gift in that. And I just think that's, I don't even know how to talk about, I don't even know what to say about that, because I think that it's I don't know what to say. Anyway.
Well, it draws to my mind that many times, you know, the difference between healing and curing, because curing is getting rid of symptoms, so you don't have symptoms. So let's say, you know, someone gets diagnosed with a type of cancer, and they could give them something and get it to go away right away. Then those gifts won't happen. And the real healing is that your friend, for example, has seen that people actually love him and are willing, if he needs help, they're right there. And he might not have even ever asked for help unless he really needed it. Yeah. And so that's healing. we're all going to die sometime. So what is that saying? None of us is getting out of here alive.
Well, what's so funny about that? It's like when you know somebody and go, they have something or whatever, and it's like my friend is dying. It's like, wait a minute, we all are. Some of us slower than others, but
Well, exactly. I read something the other day by a Hindu master, a yogi master, and he was saying, well, after 40, the body starts to die. I was like, after 40, oh my God, we're in that 60 is the new 40, not.
You know what? We need to take a break, but I want to address that when we come back from break, because I've been hearing some different things in regard to that recently.
Good.
So we'll be right back.